My next guests grew up together, first in Scotland and then in the United States. One we know well as an actor, singer, talent show judge and all-round entertainer. The other is his big sister, who's now a professor of English in Milwaukee. As young siblings, like most, they bickered and fought, but now they've used those childhood memories to write a children's book together. Ladies and gentlemen, John Barrowman and his big sister, Carol. Well, this is, I mean, you know, to get siblings to talk to one another in later in life is difficult in some families. To write a book together, there we are, Hollow Earth. So,
yes.
Whose was the germ of the idea? Where did it come from?
Oh, it actually started from a car journey when I was filming, you know, some Torchwood, going back a couple years, and we were traveling from London to Cardiff, and we had 2 huge bags of sweets. And we started eating the sweets, and by the traffic jam that ended on the M4, we were so high on sugar that we just we came out with the best. You know,
so many stories.
So many stories. But it started with basically us saying to each other, "What kind of superpower would you want if you could have a superpower?" And that's you know, and it stemmed all from that.
And the answer was what, Carol?
Well, first I wanted to fly. That would be the superpower I'd want. But then we went from that and said, what if we wrote a book about kids whose imaginations were their superpower, who, when they drew and copied any art, the art would come alive, or they could move into paintings or bring things out from the paintings. And that's really how it started. By the time we
it's
got
like
to
Dick
Cardiff,
Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
But that's great.
exactly right.
That's great.
That was kind of one of the images when we were talking about what that would mean. We remembered that scene when he's drawing the chalk on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if you just had characters that's what they did? They could do that, and then all sorts of bad guys are chasing after them
Well,
to
I
get
got
a
on the
hold of
cover
that
of the book,
power.
there's this rather perilous-looking beak, you know.
Yes.
You think, oh,
Yes.
it is...
Yes.
Because children's stories have to be scary nowadays.
Correct, and that was one thing that when you know, the publishers came back to us, they kept coming back, and we'd proof something and we'd read it, and then I'd go back to Carol and they'd say they need it scarier. And she's, what? Yep, but we're fine with that. Fine, absolutely fine with that.
What about the writing process then? Because you're a professor of English,
Yes,
so
I am.
you're good on the full stops and the commas.
I am. I know where to put the semicolon.
Yeah, but you should hear her grammar after she's had a glass of wine.
Not quite so perfect.
One person writing is difficult enough. How physically do you do it between the two of you? You obviously have brainstorming sessions. Then do you
Yes.
go away and set down?
Yeah, we do. We brainstorm together. We plot together. We do the whole arc. We had planned this out as sort of 3 books, and we lay all that out. I'm usually here for a couple of months at a time. We get all that down, and then
We record it on an
record it
MP3.
on an MP3, and then he sends me home.
And she goes back and she physically then sits down and brings all of that imagination, all of that creativity, and she puts it into words on the page.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the one who sits and I take a pen and paper and
You are the
She's the one who does
slave,
it.
Carol.
I
You do
am.
this slogging away.
is.
Exhausted.
What's interesting, how old were you both? You moved to the States, you grew up in Scotland in the early years. You're 8 years old?
She's 64 years older than I am.
I love it when people say, oh, this book is about... I'm ignoring that. Do you hear that?
It's about twins, isn't it?
They say, it's about twins. Are you 2 twins? And I'll say, yes, we are. And they say, oh, I could tell you were twins. And you get so mad at that.
They always think I'm older than she is, which is fine. It's absolutely
How old
fine.
were you when you moved to the States?
I was 17.
17, and you...
I was, no,
Eight.
you were 16.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a year here.
Thank you very much.
I was 8, yeah, 16 and 8.
But you see, I just thought you might have kept more of your Scottish accent.
Oh, we've
going
got a
at it.
Scottish accent right here.
We only speak Scottish to each other when we're by ourselves in the car, when we're brainstorming, when we're talking, when we're with our mum and dad,
When
our
we're
family,
yelling at each other.
and when we're shouting at each other. But when we're with other people who are not Scottish, it's the whole thing of when we moved, and I was bullied about my accent. And it's a defense mechanism. And Carol does it when she teaches. She speaks American. But you can never change your natural tongue.
When we talk to our
With
mum
each
and
other.
dad, it's the Scottish comes right back, because our parents talk as if they just got off the plane.
It's like having two conversations.
It is. It's a little...
Try living with her.
Oh, please. Oh,
Are you a
please.
different person when you're speaking with a Scottish accent? Do you feel a different person, don't you?
I don't think so. He looks like he thinks that I'm another person.
Tell them what Claire and Turner, my niece and nephew, her kids, tell them what they say.
They used to say when I would get angry with them, when they're in their 20s now, but when they were little, if I get angry with them, I always yelled at them in Scottish. Because I think if you're going to yell at somebody, yell at them in Scottish, because it sounds worse.
Do you know, you're absolutely right. I'm terrified now.
Do you want me to move over there?
No, you don't. Well, good luck with this. More to come from Em and Matt, they're called. No,
Yes,
Emily's your middle
Emily
name.
is my middle name. It's also my grandmother's name, and she was a woman that really wanted to be a doctor, but was born in, you know, the early part of the 20th century before her time.
There's a lot of characters in there that are references to family members and people that we've come across and love. You know, my gran, her sister Jeannie is the housekeeper. Auchinmarn, the island, is named
It's
after.
set in Scotland.
It's set in Scotland, and we've taken the island of Cumbria Island and we've changed all the locations. So listen, it's the first of 3, and we're already starting on the second, and there's other things to come. We're so excited by it. It's doing so well, and we're so appreciative of it because it's, you know, it's just great.
Yet another string to his bow. I mean, your course is part of your purview,
Yes,
English, isn't it?
I know,
But really
I know. But he and I loved all the same stories too. And even when I was, you know, even though I was a little older than him, I saved all my Enid Blyton books and I'd pass them down to him.
Yeah, but what does your good younger brother do for you now?
He actually, you know, when I got here, I literally got off the plane at 7 in the morning. I walk into the house in London.
I couldn't wait.
And he comes rushing into the bedroom with this huge bag full of Enid
First
Blyton
edition.
first editions that he had. He's been going all
When
over
I'm
the
on tour, I went
bookstores.
to every bookstore in the towns when I was on tour, old bookshops, and I would ask if they had any first editions, and I just kept buying them up, and a way to say thank you for all the hard work she did for doing the right.
Isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice?
Isn't it wonderful to know that Carol, that you're a professor of English in the States and that your brother there has just recently got into Noddy?
Yes.
Hollow Earth is out now. John and Carol will be back later to reveal their own favourite children's books. We know a bit of it now. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, John and Carol Barrowman, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, earlier in the show, we spoke to John Barrowman and his sister Carol about the children's book they've just written together. And in a moment, I'll be asking them and my other guests about their favourite childhood books. Here is a clue to Carol's.
I just wanted to be beautiful like Susan. That's all.
You wished yourself away, and with it much more. Your brothers and sister wouldn't know Narnia without you, Lucy. You discovered it first, remember?
I'm so sorry.
You doubt your value. Don't run from who you are.
Oh, that bit woke you up, didn't it? There, no. Joined again now by Carol and John, by Matt Cardle, and best-selling children's author Derek Landy. Good to see you, Derek. Hello, Carol, I'm going to ask you then, so Lion, the Witch and Wardrobe, your favourite, I gather?
I love it. I love it. And I love not only these wonderful new editions with the great pictures, I think I love the fact that these were really realistic boys and girls and brothers and sisters. You know, it was one of the things I enjoyed most about this.
But it disappointed us all that the backs of our wardrobes didn't lead
No
anywhere.
kidding.
They just
No kidding.
solid.
There's a joke there. I came out of my closet on the other side.
Oh, dear, bless his heart. Well, Derek, now, we were talking earlier on about books being scary.
Yes.
Here's a worthy term. You got this character called Skullduggery Pleasant.
Yes, indeed.
On a big fat book here, and this is Deathbringer. So this is number 6, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He basically he's a skeleton detective who I came up with and completely changed my life. And I'm actually writing book 7 now.
So it's been so successful. 6.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're in the top 6 authors of, now tell me, the world.
Well,
World
in
Book
my
Day?
head, yes.
In your no, it's,
But yeah, the World Book Day
That's right.
is a fantastic.
well, you're up there with Roald Dahl and Jacqueline Wilson.
Yeah,
so you don't really-
yeah. Yeah, they're okay. They're not all that. But basically, these books are out on the 1st of March.
Yeah.
And they're like £1 in a bookshop, or they're free for kids who have tokens from school.
Get them reading.
Yeah,
reading
yeah. So
stories.
I have another very small skullduggery book, The End of the World, and another cheery title.
You like frightening yourself as well as frightening the children, don't you?
You don't want to know that.
Don't want to know.
No.
Skullduggery, those are the ones. Matt, favourite children's book from you?
There was one of my favourites was one called Harold and the Purple Crayon, about a little boy called Harold who had a purple crayon.
What was the appeal of it to you?
Well, the thing was, the crayon was whatever he drew came to life.
That's like Harold was. Yeah.
Hang on a minute, I seem to remember.
But I think it's going to be reissued now. I've already got a.
There's competition here for
big
the,
up
That's
copy.
right.
the
No, it's a classic
Barrowmans.
book. My kids
It
loved
is.
it. Yeah.
It's incredible.
And again, did it just transport you? I mean, was that the thing? It was
Well, yeah,
display?
at that age, I mean, sort of 3, 4, 5, when you're getting it read to you by your parents, you know, you can
Yes.
go somewhere with it, but not when you're 28.
John, how about you? Your favourite?
My favourite is actually I have a couple of favourites, but the one that strikes in my memory was the first one that I ever bought with my own pocket money, and that was Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator.
So this
Roald
isn't Charlie
Dahl.
and the Chocolate Factory, it's Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator.
It's hard to say,
It
isn't
is.
it? Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. It's the second, you know, after the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And for me, I really don't remember why I bought it. I just maybe covers are a lot, you know, very visual. I like the cover, and when I started reading it, I loved the idea of the adventure. That was the big thing for me. That was, and a lot of the books that I started to read, and also ones that Carol recommends to me, they're all about adventure. They're all about really good growth stories of a character that have, you know, a really good beginning, middle, and an end.
Derek, much has been written about what makes a good children's book and don't patronise children, all that sort of thing. But it does seem now that most of them do scare children, or children do want to be frightened.
I mean, apart from anything else, and I do get asked this a lot, you do have to respect your audience. I mean, I was a martial arts instructor for years, so I taught kids how to defend themselves, and really, when you get kicked in the face by an 8-year-old, you grudgingly build up a kind of respect. So I figured that, you know, that these were as smart and as funny and as creative and as intelligent as anyone else, as any of my friends. So
Is it more demanding in a way than writing for children? Is that correct?
they are more accepting than an adult audience, but less forgiving. So they will accept your book. They will accept a book about a skeleton detective, no problem. If you mess up, if you stray from, if you start to condescend or patronise, or you start
rumble you.
disrespecting, then boom, you're gone.
Matt, what do you read now? I mean, does it, as what you read then, coloured what you read now? Is it totally different?
Not really. I mean, there's one book, and
It's
this
everything about purple crayons.
Well, that's what started my life to this point. Now, I have to say, I'm not a big reader. I've read one cover to cover, and that was called The One in the Middle's The Green Kangaroo. But all, you know, the books at school that we read, I never finished them. I'm not a big reader.
We've had a lot of
afraid to say.
people tweeting saying, James Mill says R.L. Sline's Goosebumps, and that's
Yes.
a very popular one with kids, isn't it? Denise, you'll be pleased about this. Enid Blyton, the Adventures series. Killian Griggs, Dr. Seuss, Green Eggs and Ham. I know my grandson's
made
getting
those.
green eggs and ham. Lynette Lehman, Ladybird book, Ginger's Adventures, Ladybird books. With me, you see, it wasn't scary ones. It was Wind in the Willows that I loved as a child.
that's
After
right.
Peter Rabbit, which is Mr. McGregor the gardener. So more
You
pastoral.
see, the problem with those books is that they lack ninjas.
They're
You know,
like ninjas.
I think every book.
had a ninja water rat and a ninja mole and
Well,
a ninja
then, you see,
badger.
then I'd read it, you know?
Is it? So that's where the failing is now.
Yeah,
Do you think
just
pastoral
more ninjas
stories are
and
long
everything.
gone then, John, from
That's how
childhood?
you just mentioned a book there, a Ladybird book, Ginger's Adventures. It was about a beagle that went on an adventure, and it was a book that I had, whoever that email was from, I've been looking for that book for years.
Well, there you are. It's out
How
there.
weird is that?
And when you've progressed from Noddy, you shall have it.
Thank you!
Well, the details of World Book Day book tokens are on our website. It's full of them here. And what was it? The glass what?
Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator.
Easy for you to say. Yeah, my thanks to Matt Cardle, John and Carol Barrowman, and to Derek Landy. Thank you very much indeed. That's all we've time for today. Joining me tomorrow, former ITN Royal correspondent Nicholas Owen, and the lovely Mylene Klass will be here as well. See you tomorrow at 3. Take care. Bye-bye. God.